Welcome to C-Vine News. You're listening to The Truth with your host, Linda Forsythe, and the man with the coolest name in radio, Pimpy.
What is the precipice? Most of us have been trying to figure out exactly what that is, and that can mean so many things. So many things. A precipice might be different things to different people, but what is ultimately the precipice of what is being talked about when things will change, when we will have the will to change? With all the chaos and confusion and the exhaustion emotionally that has been going on, we are so wishing that this is the precipice. Well, things had to be this way for a very solid reason, and I think people are starting to figure out why. People had to wake up. And sometimes it's just a matter of you can't tell somebody what's going on, you have to show them. So then again, that comes back to the question, what is the precipice where people have the will to change? I came across a story I had heard quite some time ago that I came across again, and I think it's an excellent example of exactly what the precipice is. So we're going to get right to it. There was a book that was written in 1937 by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. And it's been a fantastic book for entrepreneurs on what to do and how to overcome huge obstacles and so on. And part of the book has different stories in it to help you understand by example from the story. And one of the stories was about the year 1519, during the Spanish conquest of Mexico, when Hernan Cortés, the Spanish commander, took his army to fight a losing battle. He was going in a war against an enemy with 5 times the amount of men that he had. And this is just a little bit of a description of what was in the book, Think and Grow Rich, talking about this very true story. It's just a short paragraph. A long time ago, a great warrior had to make a decision which ensured his success on the battlefield. He was about to send his armies against a powerful foe whose men outnumbered his own. He loaded his soldiers into the boats, sailed to the enemy's country, unloaded the soldiers and the equipment, and then he gave the order to burn the ships. And he had his army take care of that, carried that out. Addressing his men before the first battle, which all this army, 5 times bigger than theirs, was sitting over the hill a ways, kind of partying it up and not worried at all. He said, "You see the boats going up in smoke? That means we cannot leave these shores alive unless we win. We now have no choice. We win or we perish." They won. Every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn his ships and cut all sources of retreat. Only by doing so can one be sure of maintaining that state of mind known as a burning desire to win, essential for success. So, if you look at the way things are right now, even though people are starting to stand up globally, but especially here, it's now beginning more than ever in the United States. If you look at it that way, how many people have their back up against the wall? How many people still have a soft place to fall? Forgive the rhyming there, but it's true. There are too many people that have a place to retreat to. The noose may be getting tighter and tighter slowly, subtly, over time. But are we to that point? Are we to that precipice where globally we are up against the wall? We have no place to fall back to. It's like a cornered animal that is up against the wall. He's about to lose his life. What is the most dangerous animal in that type of case? A wounded animal that is cornered up against the wall, no choice but to move forward with absolute, total, unequivocal focus, without even a remote desire of the possibility of losing. The focus is, that's it. If I'm going to live, if I'm going to be able to get through this, the focus is absolute in moving forward. Are we there yet? Nope. No, we're not. It's going to probably have to get to such a degree where no one has a place to retreat to, where you are in that particular situation. Now, why would they take things to that kind of a degree, to that kind of precipice? Well, let's look at this Spanish commander here. He was one of the best commanders out there. He probably even had fantastic officers that worked with him. Do you think he could have fought that battle without an army that was absolutely committed to not losing, where there was absolutely no place to retreat, even though the odds were against them? If we're going to get through this, the leaders, whoever they may be, and I think everyone believes it's going to be Trump et al. Or whomever, needs an army that is committed, that is absolutely committed to moving forward. It doesn't mean it has to be violence, but it does mean that it's an absolute standing firm, whatever that looks like, where there's no retreat, a continual moving forward until the battle is won. Yes, things are going on behind the scenes. But just like this Spanish commander, they can't do it without us. We, the people, globally, can't do it without us unless everyone is committed. Because we're talking about an evil that has gone back many centuries, that is so deeply entrenched in every aspect of society. It's got to be this way. So might be a little bit quicker if everyone started to step up now, and it looks like that is starting to happen, because they're calling parents terrorists because they are talking about they do not want certain things taught to their children, and they are absolutely against things that are going on in the schools. I don't have to sit here and outline everything. You know all this. You heard it all ad nauseum. But that's the precipice that we're waiting for. So as we sit back and we calmly wait for everything to go forward, just know until people understand there's not a soft place to fall, we haven't reached the precipice. After this video, I'm going to be doing a video about Gitmo, the trials that went on from September 6th to the 17th. And I had to wait for the transcripts. I needed to go over them to make certain about a few things. So I have a lot to talk about with that too. We'll be talking to you soon.
All right, Linda, thank you so much for that segment. Actually, that brings up a lot of different points, Doc, I want to talk about before we continue. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This is Pimpy, and that man joining me on the other end is Doc. How you doing, Doc?
It's good to be back. Thanks, Pimpy.
Hey, I was going to ask you, how was your Christmas, by the way?
Oh, it was a mixture of good and bad. I had family that came down with COVID, and I ended up helping take care of them. But other than that, it was really good.
Well, the cool thing is we do know how to take care of them. You know, me and you both have been covering the whole vaccination and the whole coronavirus thing for quite some time now. So it's good to hear that. Well, it's not good that they came down to coronavirus, but it's good that they're doing fine. Mine was really peaceful. I think coming back from Miami though, before Christmas, before Halloween, before Christmas, my mother got really sick and she's on assisted living right now. And I'm waiting to hear some final stuff about what's going on with her from my sisters. And they're not exactly the most reliable source, but that's neither here nor there. But New Year's though, I am looking forward to another peaceful New Year's. I enjoy my New Year's. Back when I was younger, I used to go out and get crazy and, go to the clubs and the whole 9 yards. But I'm a little bit older now. So I think I'm going to refrain from that, if anything, and just sit back at home with the family. What about you? Any plans for New Year's?
No major plans. I'm at the age now that watching the ball drop is all I want to do.
Definitely.
C-Vine will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Sheriff Mack is reaching out to all Americans to support their local sheriff by joining the Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association. This is Linda Forsythe. Sheriff Mack founded this organization to educate the public and support all local sheriffs in our nation. Now, more than ever, our citizens must be able to recognize how a constitutional sheriff acts. Even though all sheriffs take an oath of office to defend our country against enemies, both foreign and domestic, some haven't followed through with that oath. Now is the time to shine a light. Which ones are protecting the people who elected them in their county against illegal constitutional mandates or violent behavior? Your sheriff cannot be told to stand down by any government authority because they were elected by we the people. Citizens and their local sheriff are the last line of defense against tyranny. Sign up for free email updates and alerts at cspoa.org or become a member of the posse for $11 a month. Go to cspoa.org. That's cspoa.org for Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association.
Hey folks, just a quick reminder that back in 2008 and 9, a lot of people lost all of their retirement savings in their 401ks and IRAs because they did not own gold and silver. Yeah, that's right. Gold and silver protects you from a market crash. So do yourself a favor, protect your retirement by purchasing gold and silver. You can go to moneymetals.com, reach out to them, and they will help you set yourself up to protect you and your family from having to start all over from scratch. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they will send along with your order a free half ounce of silver. So folks, do yourself a favor, head on over to moneymetals.com and protect you and your family from a market crash, as well as inflation.
AM590, The Answer.
Linda's segment covered a lot of different areas kind of in one portion, and some of the headlines that we're going to go over here definitely is part of what Linda was talking about. So, Doc, we got the news cycle is so crazy these days. It changes, at like a snap of a finger. It's unbelievable how the news cycle changes so much these days. So
Linda said it right.
Go ahead.
Linda said it right. We're on the edge. We are definitely on the edge. So we should see some of that with just what we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things that are interesting. So she talked about, the school board meetings, but she also talked about a loyal military. Now, here's one thing about the military that's interesting. And I don't know if you heard about this, but there's this thing called the military purge is happening now. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, yes.
So for those of you who have no idea what the military purge is, as everybody is well aware, there is this assumption that people who are against the vaccines are Trump supporters, and those who support vaccines, well, they're, line up with the Democrats. That's the assumption. So what's happening in the military is when Biden was inaugurated into office and they called the National Guard because of the so-called insurrection, which is just BS. But anyways, when they called in the National Guard, their biggest fear was in the quick amount of time they did the vetting of the soldiers, going through the social media postings, they found out that like 85% of the National Guard were Trump supporters. So there was some concern there, as you can imagine. So the military purge is this. They're now forcing the military people to get vaccinated. And those who refuse to get vaccinated will get discharged. The idea is, that's why they're calling it the military purge. The idea is that most of the people that are going to be discharged are loyal to Trump. That's the thought behind it. What do you think, Doc?
You said it right. It's a purge, and it probably is a purge of loyalty towards Trump. But my background being military, they can and do force you to get vaccination based on readiness. So we've got both sides there. But if they're really trying to purge the loyalists, this is a good way to do it. Yeah. Except for I don't truly believe that anti-vaxxers are all Trump loyalists.
No, so, I know they're not. But I think it's safe to say that the bigger majority of them would be Trump supporters. Is that safe to say?
It's safe, but at the same time, there's a lot that just don't want to be told what to do. And there's probably quite a few in the military that sees this as a way out. Whoops, made a mistake, shouldn't have come in the first place. Oh, I can get out now by taking the vaccine. So I think it's going to, I don't think they could possibly have the numbers that they think they have. I think this is another situation that's going to backfire on them.
To me, is they should get away from the politics of this. I mean, I agree. There's no way to know for sure how many of these people are true Trump supporter or Trump loyalists versus not, because I know for a fact, I know quite a few people who support the Democrats that are really against this vaccine. So one of the headlines, it says Air Force is discharging 27 for refusal to get the COVID vaccines. Now, the number is much higher than that now, and the number continues to grow. But we're talking about some of our pilots, some of our leaders in military, along with their enlisted men. So to me, all this really does, it really weakens our military. What do you think?
I agree. I think they're making a miscalculation that they're Trump loyalist. So I believe their belief is that they're getting folks out that may not vote for Joe Biden, but they're making a mistake because there's, right, like you said it's impossible to really calculate that. But what's really crazy is they really think this may be a way to get a few more, I don't even know how to say that. How can you create loyalty being so disloyal? And I think that's their big mistake right now.
No, I think of people going to the military, most of them for the most part are there for the love of country, and they could care less about politics. Now, I'm not saying that everybody really ignores what's going on politically. And I would imagine that a big portion of them might be Trump supporters, but I think this approach is wrong, or the thought process behind it is wrong. But when you hear that kind of strategy, what you really need to question is, why do they need to be concerned about purging out Trump supporters? What do they have planned? Why are they concerned about that? I mean, these people are there to protect the country, not a political party. But if you're a political party who fears the military, then you have to ask yourself, why do you feel our military? What is it exactly that you're up to where you feel the need to fear the military? Does that make sense?
It does, only I would take it with a little different slant. I am not sure that they fear the military as much as they want to control the military.
There you go.
So if they have to control the narrative, if they truly want a military coup, remember they blamed Trump that he wanted a military coup,
right?
Which was insane.
Right.
There was there's zero evidence for that.
Right.
But I'm not sure that's not what they want to do, especially with the idiots they call generals now that have been decades in coming.
Yeah.
Decades in coming since Clinton, we have put in political generals, and we need to make those disappear. And Trump was on probably really close to doing that. And that is the fear of the military they have, that it might actually become an somewhat independent organization, or is performing as they're supposed to by an elected official, not by unelected generals.
No, absolutely. So a couple of things crossed my mind. We the people definitely we're relying on the military. If the doo-doo hits the fan, so to speak, we are aware of this agenda of the Great Reset, whether people believe in it or not, it doesn't make a difference. They should research it because this is a worldwide event. One of the things that we count on a lot is one, our local sheriffs are our last line of defense. And when the time comes, they'll be there to protect the people. Two, our military is definitely going to be there to protect the people, or so you hope. My friend didn't bring up a good point, though, when it comes to them labeling Americans as, domestic terrorists, which is just BS. I have a trouble with that. But my friend said, look, you got to remember that when they call the military in to go do something, if it's in country, they're not going to tell the military personnel, the truth about what's going on. Possibly they'll say, look, there's terrorists there. They're not going to say they're American terrorists. They're not going to say what kind. There's this group of terrorists and here we are to fight them. And the military, they'll just follow orders. They're going to, until they finally get in there, probably to see what's really going on. But for the most part, I think, if the military is called in to deal with some stuff domestically, nobody's going to tell them in detail who it is that they're up against. Because I'm struggling with the idea of our own military shooting our own people. Maybe I'm wrong and naive in that area. I know that one of the litmus tests that Obama had for his military personnel was, are you, if ordered to do so, would you shoot American citizens? And if you said no, he purged you out of the military. So if that's the kind of military they're looking for, then it makes you step back a little bit and question what exactly do those people have in mind. It's not just Democrats, just so you're aware. I'm generalizing when I'm speaking. There are rhino Republicans that are all aboard on this Great Reset agenda. And the Great Reset is a new world order. They don't even hide it. You go to their website, they tell you this is a new world order. Now, the weird thing about that is, as I was getting older, we used to talk about these people, that tinfoil hat, that conspiracy thing. Oh, that's fake. That's not real. But now in my lifetime, I'm actually seeing them come out in open going, yep, we are real. And here we are. And we're called the Great Reset. That Build Back Better slogan, that's not Biden's. If you go to the website, it's part of the Great Reset. They talk about the great Build Back Better. So Boris Johnson and Biden arguing over whose slogan it is, I thought it was, hilarious because we know they're all they're puppets for this Great Reset. So the military purging out so-called Trump supporters, if that's what they think they're going to do, I think they're sadly mistaken because there are Trump supporters that will take the vaccine. And keep in mind, Trump's out there encouraging people to take the vaccine, which is mind-blowing to me, how they go, oh, if you're an anti-vaxxer, you must be a Trump supporter. How do you make that connection? Trump did.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I think that there's a really good example that it's not even about why I believe that they're trying to create a military that's compliant, that they're doing all of these, as you say, litmus tests that shows compliance. But we just look back in history just a few weeks ago, well, a couple of months ago, but a Marine, I think it was Lieutenant Commander or Lieutenant Colonel Scheller. You remember him? He just criticized how we acted in Afghanistan, which he had exactly. He had every right to do. So he was not happy with the Afghanistan withdrawal. He makes it known and he gets tossed.
Yeah.
So that's not a Trump supporter. That's someone that's not compliant. And that's what I think they're trying to get rid of is the non-compliance.
Well, not just that.
Can I tell you a story? And this will probably get us in trouble. I'll tell you a true story. The last job I had in the Navy was I was running a small medical clinic on an air base, a naval air base. And this is where Clinton would fly in each time. Now, I retired in 1996, so that'll give you guys some idea of my age. But he would fly in to this air base. This is where he'd fly in, and I had to support him flying in with an ambulance and a medical crew from the clinic. Now, we had the flight surgeons, we had the clinic personnel, we had the ambulance. So we knew when he's coming in, and we'd set it all up. Well, when he'd get off the plane, he would come off the plane with these, 8x10 glossy photos of himself signed, and he would give us a stack of these photos. And I actually had to reprimand my crew almost every time he came in because I'd find those pictures thrown in the trash in the clinic. We aren't political, but we are politically motivated. And the military has always been that way. Our morale was as high as it could be right after a fall. So Jimmy Carter, I came in with, and then the Navy was, and I was in the Navy, and the Navy was morale. We had drug ships. So if you smoke dope, that's into these ships. So there's a whole bunch of people that would, the ship wouldn't sell. It would just be in port, but that's where they usually assign you.
That was the stoner barracks. Is that what you're saying?
Stoner barracks. Yeah. They actually had it set up that way. Well, when Reagan came in, that all ended. And the pride in we couldn't even wear a uniform off base. And the pride came back as with the new president, new leadership. And then we came into Clinton, and Clinton brought the military's morale down again, but we weren't hurting nearly as bad as with Jimmy Carter. Okay. So, and I'm just using this as a quick example. I was there to see that. And when, in fact, I made a remark, I was a senior chief in the Navy. So I was senior enough, and one of my buddies, also a senior enlisted guy, I said, I'm not retiring while Clinton's president, because if I do, he'll sign my retirement certificate. And I didn't want it. Now, I was being kind of sarcastic, but he looked at me and he goes, "Do you want him to sign it or Hillary?" I retired. Okay.
Yeah, there he is. I'm gone.
But we're seeing it again. We saw it again with Obama. We saw it, and it's not a Democrat. It's a Democratic mindset. It's this Democrat mindset that thinks that for some reason they do not like the military, and they drop the amount of funding that goes
Doc,
to it.
I got to ask you a question. How's that possible? You heard how much that Biden increased the military defense budget this year, right? A whole whopping $327 million.
I think it worked out about 27 cents a soldier.
Yeah.
I joke. I don't want, I was there. I saw the change. I can feel the change after the fact. I think I can also tell the story of the VA. We can see what happens is I'm a disabled veteran. So I have VA benefits, and the hardest thing to do is to get an appointment at VA forever. So I didn't use them that often. When Trump took over,
right,
the VA became they had coffee and donuts at the clinics, and we got appointments within weeks. We had phone calls, people calling us saying, "Hey, you're due for your whatever."
Right.
In fact, I ended up becoming a big fan of the VA.
So it changed big time.
And then within weeks after Biden takes over, I'm back at it. The earliest I can get an appointment is 3 or 4 months out. Earliest. So the regimes just have a whole different attitude. And I'm not going to put it on Trump, and I'm not going to put it on Reagan. I'm not going to take it away from Clinton or take it away from Obama. But we saw such a huge change in how the military was treated by the leadership of our president.
Oh, you won't, but I will. Obama hated our military. I mean, look at the way the VA was. It was terrible. And I think, and right now, we all know Biden's not the real president. Come on now. He can't even pronounce his own name. The guy was on live TV screaming, "Let's go, Brandon." I was like, what? Are you serious? He was actually agreeing with that. And I couldn't believe it. I go, did anybody inform him what that means exactly? But now this is just Obama's. Well, this is just an extension. This is Obama's third term. I mean, the reason why they forced Kamala Harris as the VP that nobody likes right now. Oh my God, her rating is terrible. And then what does she do? She goes to the race card. Oh, if I was a white male, then, I'm being marginalized. Wah, wah, wah. No, you're not. Nobody liked you in the first place. Nobody liked you in California. When you ran for president, nobody liked you. You were going into California primaries and she dropped out before she got here. So no, but they knew she would be a good puppet for Obama, between Obama and Biden. So yeah, that's why she's there. And this crime, always pulling the race card, is mind blowing to me, but that is the normal strategy for Democrats. If you don't like what they're doing, then you're a misogynist, homophobic, Islamophobic, you're a racist. We just don't like your policies. It has nothing to do with individuals. But coming back around to the military, this purge thing that they're up to, I'm concerned about it because let's say there is some level of truth to it. Let's say a good majority of these soldiers that are released are Trump supporters. I mean, okay, why that bothers me is this. If these are all in agreement and they line up with this so-called Great Reset, then it makes me a little bit nervous because we know we can't trust our intelligence agencies. What do we find out? That they have gotten way out of control. See in the news, the FBI lawyer remember he forged the email, he changed the wording to make it look like Carter Page was not part of the CIA. He lied. Remember, he got busted. He was the only person so far busted, and he pleaded guilty. By the way, they've restored his good standing with the DC bar. That's his reward for standing his ground and not snitching on people. But not just that. Here's the problem that I have, both with the January 6th incident and this whole entire strategy to try to smear Trump before the election and get his own supporters to turn against him. Remember that Governor Whitmore out of Michigan? Trump and her would bump heads all the time. Remember her?
Oh, do I remember? The news is now leading with the FBI agent, Richard Trask.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? They're leading with that because he basically was thrown out of the FBI for domestic abuse.
Yes.
Domestic violence. All of a sudden, we find out he was the head agent in charge of this Whitmer kidnapping.
Yeah, so just so people could get caught up on what me and you were talking about, for those who are unaware, the FBI said they had discovered this plot of some Trump-supporting white supremacists. They were going to kidnap Governor Whitmore and execute her live on TV is what the plot was. Well, once everybody got arrested, we found out like 7 of the 12 people were actually the FBI agents. Yeah, they're FBI. And now, the 5 remaining defendants that are there are wanting the charges dismissed because the FBI wasn't there just observing. They were actually leading, organizing, and handling everything, which is a no-no. That's entrapment all the way around. But so we found out our own FBI agents, what they wanted to do was do this whole event and then try to blame Trump for it is what they planned on doing, except for it didn't quite go the way they thought. Now, again, we're finding out that not only was the FBI involved in this plot against Governor Whitmore to execute her to make Trump look bad, but they were also part of, and senior management, both within the FBI and the CIA, were the main instigators in the January 6th so-called insurrection. They were the ones breaking the windows and pushing people through and encouraging them to do damage and encouraging them to do violence is what we're finding out. They're orchestrated.
They orchestrate it, they set it up, and then they arrest the people that which I consider these individuals probably, there were 6, right? And one actually pleaded guilty and ended up with a 4 or 6 year sentence for his involvement. The others are facing life, so they're trying to get it dismissed, of course, as entrapment. But these are followers. These are people that, for whatever political reason or for whatever silly reason they want to do harm to somebody, the FBI agents are recruiting them. That's what it appears to me. They're recruiting them to create something wrong or an evil. We'll just call it an evil.
Yeah.
And they're just following in their, here's the leader is the FBI agent, and they're just following his lead or her lead.
Well, we saw
absolutely scary.
Our own intelligence agencies attempted a coup against Trump. Come on, man. You know this, both the CIA and the FBI. We know what they did. They lied about a so-called Russian collusion delusion. Then they get Robert Mueller there. Robert Mueller did his investigation. He came back and said, well, there's no proof of it. Then what did the Democrats do? Yes, there is, and we're going to impeach him. And they did this big theatrical thing. It cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars to sit there and watch them do this fake trial. It was lopsided. They had secret meetings with people that they knew they were going to get in trouble if they brought out to the public. And then in the public, they brought these other puppets up there that were promised different things if they went up there and said that Trump was the bad man. Like that a lady or a gentleman who said, I overheard a phone call from a guy standing 10 feet away. You know what I mean? Just ridiculous things like that. Both impeachments for trial, we find out that the Democrats not only had no evidence, but they fabricated both crimes that didn't exist and evidence to try to make Trump look bad. And they got called out for it. But, people should stop looking at us Democrat and Republican. You should just be angry that people within our own government are willing to do this. If they're willing to do this to a sitting president, what the heck does that mean for us? You know what I mean, Doc?
Yes. What we are pawns in this silly game if we don't do what Linda was saying to do, is know that we have to win. Stand up for what we believe, have the courage to continue either saying it or acting on it, but believe in truth, believe in what's really happening, and stand up with the courage of our convictions and not the following or staying silent, sitting in the background when we should be speaking up.
Cvine will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Are you at risk of losing everything you have worked for all these years? Hi, this is attorney Ron Osk. If you are a business owner and have been impacted by the COVID-19 shutdown, you may be able to save your business and bring it back to life by filing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy or a small business Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Our office has over 38 years of experience with assisting businesses and their families to keep their assets and continue to make their living. The purpose of a Chapter 13 or Chapter 11 is not to liquidate your business as you would with a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The purpose of a Chapter 13 or Chapter 11 bankruptcy is to restore your business to good health. Call us today to schedule a free phone or Zoom consultation, toll-free at 1-800-660-5608. That's 1-800-660-5608. Or visit our website at www.askbankruptcy.net.
What is Cvine anyway? The acronym Cvine stands for Community Voices, Investigations, News, and Education. Cvine is a grassroots collection of people from all walks of life, skills, and talents, banding together to heal our community. As a group of law enforcement, retired military, accountants, teachers, doctors, nurses, clergy, stay-at-home moms, or the local construction worker, Cvine donates their time where needed. It is we the people who built America from generations of blood, sweat, and tears. Cvine creates teams to tackle work where it is needed. All volunteers have their own businesses or personal lives, but donate their time in an area they have experience and skills. The news portion of Cvine investigates existing news stories by licensed investigators. Cvine journalists report the news live on social media. Cvine also has commentary and analysis recorded on AM radio. Watch for news teams now being formed in the education sector called Project Mayberry, coming very soon. Visit the cvine.com website, become a member, and sign up for Cvine's newsletter. That's c-vine.com, c-vine.com.
AM590, The Answer.
The world is in a really tough place, and I think Linda said it well. We need to burn the ships. We need not to retreat.
Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. We are starting to see some changes take place. I spoke before about the Mothers of Liberty. Remember, they're the ones that were going to the school boards and looking at the curriculum and speaking out and bringing awareness to people, not just about the critical race theory, not just that part, but also a lot of the pedophilia and the homosexuality is being taught to kids. They're minors, like second graders. You know what I mean? And the whole transgender going to the bathroom, and that one gentleman, his daughter was raped by a boy that went into the girl's bathroom. And because he was yelling at the board members, they arrested a guy. Then they started calling the national school board saying, hey, to Biden, we need help. And then all of a sudden now the FBI started labeling these people domestic terrorists. Do you see what kind of extremes they're going through? That's what disgusts me about a lot of the action. Again, I'm generalizing because it's not everybody, but a lot of the crap that we're seeing right now coming from the left, doing this type of stuff to its own citizens, and they have no problem with it. You know what I mean? And this could be why we're seeing, what are we seeing now and coming up in elections? How many Democrats are retiring, my friend? It looks like they're giving in. What do you think?
I know Nancy's not leaving now. She was going to retire. She pulled put her name back on the list, which is really, for me, that just doesn't make sense. I don't even know what kind of game she's playing. If she thinks one more vote's going to help in the red wave that's coming.
No, this is how many, me and you were paying attention to this. How many deep blue areas have we seen all flip to Republic now? What is it? 3 different special elections so far?
Yeah.
And sweeps, not just like 1 or 2 seats, sweeps.
And I think I think on the, in November, we're going to see it again.
Oh, it's
There's
going to be
no
bad.
doubt.
So there's
is it the rats leaving the ship though? Is that what we're seeing? Or do you think it's the fact that, that, we get a certain amount that always leave. I haven't seen any statistics on if this is more or less, but it sure feels like more are leaving to avoid what it's going to look like. But boy, they're not very loyal to their party if they're leaving when they really need them to hang around.
So my question to you is, Doc, is this: are they leaving because they just know this is going to be a failed attempt? These people are going to get, their butt kicked in these elections, or are they being forced out by the progressives and the people who back these progressives?
I think it's both. I mean, I truly think it's both. I think there are some that realize that they are moderates and they can no longer, and they're actually Americans.
Yes.
And they actually can't support this progressive movement. I can't, we joked on one of our shows about the fact that they probably know better than to take the vaccine because they understand what it's really about.
Right.
And then we joked about somebody actually taking the vaccine.
Yeah.
That should have known better.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Well,
I don't want to bring that whole thing up, but I think that's what we're dealing with. I think that there's some informed people that are going, it's time to get the heck out. Again, not standing up. They're against the edge too, but they're not standing up. If I believe that the Democrat Party has the ability to become the party that it used to be, but it's going to take a whole lot of cinemas and mansions.
Yeah, there you go, right there. You just brought up 2 people right now, if ever. People, I don't think. Stand. Yeah, they take a stand.
They need to stand up for what they're representing, who they're representing, and they're just not doing that.
Well, I think history is going to, in my opinion, one day reflect, depending on who wins this little, whatever the heck you want to call it, this internal civil war that we got, this silent civil war. But history is going to reflect back on Christian Cinema and Joe Manchin and go, you know what? These 2 people almost single-handedly could have, they've saved this country. You can hate them because they're Democrats, or you can love them because they're Democrats. It don't make a difference. Most Democrats hate them too. But those 2 people are preventing major sweeping changes to this nation that will damage it forever if it wasn't for those 2. Plus, I believe we talked about this before. There's like an additional 12 Democrats that nobody talks about that support what Joe Manchin are doing. So it's not just the 2 of them. There's other ones that don't get.
But those are the 12 that are willing to vote yes, just because they're in the party. They're not willing to stand up. They're glad that Manchin is doing it. Yes. But if it comes to a vote, they're going to vote party line. And I think that's the disservice. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's been proven over and over. It's been proven over and over.
Well, again,
it's been proven with Manchin and Sinema. Manchin and Sinema have voted against their conscience. I know. So and we can pull some bills to prove that. But at one point, the Democrats have to realize that they're following the wrong set of rules. They're not following the rules. They're not following the representation of their constituents. They're following the rule of Nancy and the squad, and it's killing them. It's killing them.
No, it is. And then, we always talk about how corrupt that side is. Again, I'm generalizing people. I get it. They're both two sides of the same evil coin. They're both political parties. But, there are some people in there that definitely appear to be standing up and taking a stand when it's necessary. But the one, they're trying to force through, the John Lewis. And as soon as they named it the John Lewis voting rights, I go, here we go again. So this is what they do. They take John Lewis, we know is a black senator. So if you speak out against it, you know what that means. Well, you must be a racist. That's what it is. I'm so tired. And I think so many other people, including the Democrats and the supporters, are even tired of not everything is racist. Not everything is, misogynist. Not everything is, man, you don't have to keep labeling everything bad because people don't agree with your policies. It's about the policies. That's what it is. And so you're starting to see people take a stand. When you have Democrats voting Republican, or you have now even Democratic politicians switching political parties now. We're seeing a lot of that.
I agree, but the problem with the policies is they've got to call us names because the policies are bad. You can't defend the policy. So as much as, and I say that's where the problem is. How many things have we pushed through that we've allowed to be pushed through without even our own congressman hasn't even read it, doesn't even really know what's in it. And
Obamacare, remember that?
Yeah.
Even Pelosi said, no, you have to pass it to see what's in it. Why are citizens allowing them to do these types of things? Seriously, why? Who in their right mind would go, hey, you have to vote on something before you read it? And the American citizens go, yeah, there you go. No. What do you mean? Why would a senator tell their own fellow, politicians, you have to vote for something before you can read it? What? We're trying to vote something in the law here. And how many of them have not read these laws?
Yeah, let me leave you with this. And I you've heard me say it before. I'm going to say it again, and I'll continue saying it, is that we've got to get back to representative government. We have to get to a place where Congress doesn't get to vote in their raises, that Congress doesn't get to vote in their retirement packages, that Congress doesn't get to vote in the fact that they're incumbents and they have a better opportunity to get elected than a non-incumbent. We've got to get to the point where we're throwing them all out and putting in the new
term limits,
Democrats and Republicans.
Yes,
Republicans are not any better. And then absolutely they need to. I won't vote for anybody that doesn't believe in term limits, and I'll never vote for them again if they go in and then they don't create the term limits. And that's what we're full of right now. We got Republicans that have run on term limits, and there's not a bill been written. Well, actually, there has been one.
Well, but California, we also get rid of the what do you call it, the jungle primary. You know what I mean? It's the top candidates are the ones, the only ones that get to be voted on. No, we want representation from both political parties. But what they did over here in California, because this is the stronghold for the Democrats, and that is they have twisted things so bad over here in Commie, California, that, they set themselves up to rarely ever fail. And we shouldn't allow that.
We've created the laws. They have created the laws that we've voted on people. We've actually voted people into office that have voted to give themselves the benefit, to give themselves something greater than they should have. We're
too
about
much
the
power,
people.
My friend.
We the people.
Power. Yeah, too much power. We got to take it back. We have to pull in the reins. Look, real quick before we end this session here. I know I did a couple of segments on gold and silver, and a lot of people were trying to reach out to me and they didn't know how to reach me. Just so you guys are aware, I do have a YouTube channel called Pimpy's Investment Chat. You're more than welcome to come on over there and listen to what I have to say about gold and silver, because I've had people PM me and try to reach out to me in different ways. So if you have questions, because I don't have a lot of time sometimes on the show here, or, I'm not reachable sometimes. But if you want to get a lot more information about gold and silver, I encourage you to come to my YouTube channel. Again, it's Pimpy's Investment Chat, PIMPYS, Pimpy's Investment Chat. So, and you'll hear me, I make videos talking about the gold and silver there. So there's a lot more information because people keep asking me questions like, well, I heard you on the show. I have some questions and I make videos, and then plus you'll be able to reach out to me if you have any questions. So again, I want to encourage you to go to my YouTube channel. It's Pimpy's Investment Chat. It's a YouTube channel. Come on over there and join me. And we do talk about gold and silver as well as cryptocurrencies and other investment opportunities. So hopefully I'll see you there. And if you have any questions, you definitely can reach out to me if you want to. So Doc, there you go. There's another show. There is a lot of change happening. I like this segment that Linda had. It makes absolute sense. She did cover a lot of areas that we were going to talk about today. So it fed in really good. So I want to take this time really quick, Doc, to say thank you, sir, for joining us. And you and your family have a good and safe New Year's. And we'll see you later.
Yeah, thank you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're out.